I've had quite a few people ask me via email, actually to the point of where I'm thinking about arranging a something here at our restaurant someday to discuss the topic, and that is how do you commercialize a beekeeping operation? How do you turn it into a business? The first thing I tell them is that I feel far from being an expert on that. Just the more you're in business, the more you realize just how much there is to know. And I can share with you what I know so far, but I can guarantee you that my knowledge, because I believe in continual learning, my knowledge, the way I operate, is going to change from definitely year to year, if not month to month, week to week. And so, yeah, here's the advice that I have to give right now for whatever it's worth. But the first thing I was thinking about this, because I love business, I've always been involved in business, mostly in starting businesses. That's kind of my rejuvenating existing businesses. And I was thinking about it, and I thought, the first answer that comes to my mind when talking about, well, how do you take beekeeping and make it a business? The first thing I would recommend is to go and purchase the book E-Myth. E is an echo, myth, by Michael Gerber. You can get on Amazon or whatever. And there's a lot of great business book, entry-level books, but in a nutshell, the reason that that book is so valuable is because, he explains the difference between, and I'm trying to remember the precise terminology, but the artists, the technicians, and I believe the business owners were the three. And the difference is that he says, you have people who are artists who get absolute joy in innovating, developing the world's best cupcake, the most beautiful artistic cupcake. You get the same thing in beekeeping, the person who wants to have the niche hive design or whatever else. You have the technician who becomes incredibly excellent and good at working and knowing how the day-to-day operation works. And then you have the the business owner that has learned how to either grow out of those phases or delegate them to people who can eventually, if not immediately, do them much better than he can, which takes the organization or the business to a greater level, where the parts together are greater than or however that saying goes, the sum is greater than the whole. Anyways, you know what I'm trying to say. Someone else put it this way, is that, strive to be a business owner, not a business operator. A perfect example of this in beekeeping for me personally is the assembling of frames. There was a post on a beekeeping Facebook page of a gentleman who had hundreds of frames, and he said, this is the worst part of beekeeping, which, I was definitely never my favorite. But the thing is you have to break down, is your time really best spent assembling frames, or is it best spent somewhere else? A perfect example, just off the top of my head, say I, find a person to pay $15 an hour to assemble frames. Realistically, they can probably assemble, oh gosh, I don't know, say 1,000 frames, and it's been so long since I've assembled frames because I hire other people to do it because my time is best spent elsewhere. But say they hire or are able to do 1,000 frames in 6 hours, and what's 15 times 6? That's $90. Say you pay them $120 or $100 a day to assemble frames. Take that $100, this is simplifying it, but it really can be this simple. Take that $100 in your mind and say, is there not anything else that I could do that would generate $200 that only I can do for my business? A perfect example being money management, going over expense reports. contacting a client or a potential client that you know is crucial that they're talking to the owner and not a representative. Um, but anyways, just read that book. That is the for me the entry level uh, advice that I would give for anyone wanting to turn a beekeeping hobby into a business. Start reading, start studying if you aren't already on small businesses. And then once you feel you've mastered that topic, start studying, reading about managing and growing medium businesses, and on and on and on. But E-Myth, check it out. That is the best thing because you really, especially with beekeeping, especially with agriculture, things are very time sensitive. And so you want to make sure that you have a firm grasp of allocating your time properly. So that, as one entrepreneurial friend used to say to me all of the time, and it stuck, is he says, make sure you're not stepping over dimes to pick up nickels. And it's amazing how often we do that. If we just crunch some simple numbers or just take some time to self-reflect over how we're operating. But you can't do that if you're trying to operate everything in your business. There is a phase of that in the very start of a business where you have to be all things to all people, or at least it feels that way. But you want to work to get out of that phase as quickly as possible. And that E-Myth book is one of the great books to start giving you a blueprint of how to start that process in your thinking and then in your application. So anyways, we will eventually talk about the beekeeping side of it, but kind of like that Karate Kid, you know, wax on, wax off. These are the foundational principles necessary. The management parts of the actual hands-on of bees is very important too, but you need to have that foundation first. So anyways, catch you later.